Hey guys, welcome to Grandma's Wealth Wisdom and all our fun videos. If you can, of course, like and subscribe because that's what you do when you're on YouTube or when you're on all these things. I am really excited because today we've been doing an interview series during the summer, and as I've been on this YouTube journey with Amanda, growing this because the reason we started down YouTube is because podcasting went down. People are listening less to podcasts and more to YouTube's because they are not going to the gym anymore. They're not driving to work to listen to their stuff. So even me, I was like, man, I have so many podcasts that I got to binge on, but I'm not binging anywhere because I'm at work at home. And so YouTube is where we started this past 3 months growing the channel. And so I've been researching other people, and I came across Caleb. And Caleb is a young guy, started a channel around the same time that we did. Well, I guess our channel was going for a while, but as you guys know, we didn't have a lot in it. And Caleb is really talking a lot about finance, talking about his wisdom that he's learning. He reads a lot of books and his reviews of personal development and things like that. So let me just read a little bit about his bio that's in his YouTube channel, and I'm going to link it later. So Caleb is again, after months of thinking about the channel, he posted his first video in March of 2020. That's not too long ago. And his channel is growing. It's at over 200 subscribers. And he's really showing his personal development. And he has a lot of fellow YouTubers that he's learning from. And his videos are educational, enjoyable. Again, I think they're enjoyable. I listen to them all the time. And you can learn something from them. Now, I wanted to bring him on the channel because one is he's a younger guy and he's reading a lot of the same books that I've read. And I think that he has a lot of wisdom that he can drop to us. So I'm going to invite him here and let's add him to the stream.
All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? My name is Caleb. What's up?
Hey, so today we're talking about how to be successful as a young entrepreneur. And I know you work full time and you started your entrepreneur endeavor, I think with YouTube, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. Once the pandemic started and then everything kind of went crazy, my job, they kind of put that on hold. And then I had more free time at home. So then I decided, let me start this YouTube channel. I started it in March, but ever since November 2019, I've been thinking, I want to do this. I want to do this. So once I had that free time, I said, okay, now is the time to do it. Then I started with a few book reviews and I kind of branched out to some other financial advice. But yes, YouTube was my first.
And what books would you say you're reviewing? What is some of the books that you're like, oh my gosh, this book everybody should read?
Right. One of the first ones I read was The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. That was good because it's good to know that you don't have to work a traditional job forever, 9 to 5, whatever. You can create your own business, get it to a high enough level, automate it, and then live the vagabond lifestyle, travel if you want, or just whatever, live in your own state or city the way you want to. But you don't have to work forever. Another one I read recently, and I know we were just about to talk about this before we went on air, is The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. Listening to that was just wow. He really went deep into how everybody's time is limited. So you need to be wealthy now when you're young, or just whatever point now is for you. You shouldn't have to defer that 20, 30, 40, 50 years in the future. And then, you might not be able to enjoy it as much, or you might not even make it to that point. So that was one of the biggest things I got from that book that made me think, wow, that in conjunction with start a high level business. He calls it a fast lane business, one that will make you a lot of money, like $100,000 a month or $1 million a month, something that's really high level. That way you can liquidate it in a few years And again, live with your wealth now, not in 40, 50 years, which is not even guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that my clients tend to tell me, and some of the older ones, is they say, I wish I would have known this 20 years ago. I wish I would have done this 20 years ago. And that's on almost everything. But that's when we do again, I work on this concept called banking yourself. And they always say, I wish I would have known this and done this 20 years ago. If I would have known. And why I liked bringing you on the channel is if I would have known the stuff I know when I was your age, well, one is YouTube wasn't invented yet, but anyway, there's some things that I think, man, it would have been a totally different thing. And I learned a lot. We did our coffee shop. That was amazing. But during the whole coffee shop years, man, I wish I would have known how big YouTube was going to be, and I would have spent more time on it.
Right.
But and so I really wanted to bring you on because one thing that you're doing is you're reading other people's stories. But tell me a little bit about not just other people's story. What is your story with money, and your story in general? Tell us a little bit about you.
Right. So when I went to college, I was given some money like to use for tuition and everything, and then there was some extra money left over basically. And my money mindset was not as developed as it is now. So I went off and I didn't like blow it all, but just thinking back, I would buy a lot of silly things, buy clothes and watches, trying to show off whatever. But after some time, I realized this is like a waste. I have stuff here that I don't even use. And after a while, you're looking at the item. Oh, I wish I had that item as cash and not as the item that doesn't get used. So after that happened for a while, I realized, Caleb, you got to stop this. Especially because at a certain point, the money came real low. And I said, okay, you got to stop. And it's hard. Once you're, living a nice lifestyle, oh, I want to buy. Once you have to start telling yourself no, it's like, But, as I grew and I got through that, and more recently, as I started reading books, I learned that it's not just about the money in your pocket or how much you can get from a job or business, but it's about how you think about money. And once you really fix your mind on that or start learning, then you can really attract money and like use it properly instead of just saying, oh, I need to make more money, because you can get more money like a lottery winner and then, lose it in a year.
Lose it.
But you want to be sure that you can get it, keep it, and use it to your advantage so you're really financially successful.
Yeah. So has that happened quickly?
It took about maybe over 2 years or so. Well, when I was in college, I graduated college 2 years ago. So freshman year was about 6 years ago, like 2014. So during college, when I had some of that money, I did pay for college, yes, but then I also spent on some other nonsensical stuff, whatever. Then when I got out of college and I realized, oh, I don't have a job in my field yet. My field was Hispanic studies. I didn't have a job there. And I realized the money was running low. It's like, oh, I might actually, have to get a job. So that's when I got my first real job out of college. It was a retail job. And that's when I really needed money. And it was like, okay, after realizing how much money I blew on silly things and then I didn't have much at that time, I said, okay, Caleb, you need to never do this again. When you do have money and you do have savings in the future, do not blow it on anything silly. Make sure you save it and you keep it, because there might be time when you really need it. And then you just look back and say, oh, I bought a whole bunch of nonsense. But that nonsense is not helping you in your emergency situation. So then that was about 2-ish years ago, end of 2018. Then how it really started was I started watching educational videos on YouTube, the financial videos, in about 2019, early 2019 or so. And as I watched more, I learned about finances and why you should learn about finances, learn about your own finances. And then toward the end of 2019, that's when I started thinking about doing my own channel, but I wasn't really sure what I would do. And then it kind of hit me. It's like, well, if you watch financial channels, just create one. And even though I'm not an expert, I never claimed to be an expert. People say, oh, Caleb, you think you're an expert, but you're so young. I never claimed to be an expert. I just wanted to take what I've went through, help others with it, and also share what I've learned in other books so people will learn about it. Because there are a lot of people out there who don't know a lot about finance. So then to fast forward from November 2019 to now, as I started reading more books, I put out book reviews on my channels, and that's what's really helped me grow in terms of how I think about money, how I see businesses, and different things like that. So that's kind of been my progression over the last few years.
Well, and I think the other thing is you were able to figure this out in a couple years right now, as opposed to some people, they finally figure it out after 20, 30 years of mistakes, maybe because they're just kind of sleeping at the wheel. You know, if that makes sense. They're just kind of going through life and saying, all right, put it on that credit card until they realize, wait a second. What's my credit card bill? What's the interest? And they don't think through their small decisions, because I think the small decisions add up to big decisions over the course of time. This channel, you started it not too long ago, and you have 261 subscribers. That's a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But it took little efforts and failures, I bet you, as well.
Yeah, it did take a lot, from, posting the first video to working on thumbnails to getting some lighting and just really pushing. And it was actually a little interesting for me because my first videos actually did really well. And I think that was based on hype. Some of my friends knew that I liked videos, and I kind of talked about YouTube. They didn't think I would do finance, but they just thought, oh, Caleb will put out some videos. So when I did launch that first video and I did post it, I actually got over 100 views on the first day, or between the first and second day, it was 150. I was like, wow, that's much more than I thought. And then my first 4 videos pretty much followed that same trajectory. But after that, it really went down. I saw my next videos at 30, 40 views. I'm like, what happened? And now that's kind of where I am now. So I guess it was just that initial hype of, oh, Caleb with a channel. So some of my friends on Instagram or Facebook, for example, came over and maybe they watch. All you got to do is watch 30 seconds to get a view. So maybe they watch for 30 seconds and then, it went up. But then as time goes on, you really see who your true followers are and the people who are actually going to watch your content. It was like, oh, down to 40. But then I am grateful for the 40 because I see other new channels that started and they have videos with 1 or 2 views or no views. So I'm grateful that it was never really that low.
And how do you stay positive when you see those results sometimes, and you're like, man, I put all this effort into this and one person watched this? What the heck?
Yeah, it's always difficult, but I just remind myself it's the long game. So I can't look at it right now, even though I want it now. Look at it in terms of 6 months, a year, 2 years. Think about where you'd be then. Similar to investing. I mean, people get happy about the market going up today or sad about it going down tomorrow. But if your plan's to stay in the market for 30 or 40 years, then what happens today or tomorrow don't really matter. It's about what happened over a decade. Same with the channel. So if I post a video, it doesn't do as well. I mean, sure, it's annoying in the moment, but I just remind myself, play the long game. Think about this in 6 months. Think about where you'll be in a year or 2 years. And then that's what really keeps me going. Because I know I'll get that success. Everybody on YouTube has that potential. You just got to keep disciplining. You got to keep putting out the content and just keep at it. Really, you got to keep at it.
And then where do you hope to be? Is the YouTube going to be your main thing, or are you going to create are you going to be one of those big time gurus that teach podcasting, or what do you want to do?
I would I'm inspired by Graham Stephan. I'm sure you know Graham, right? Yeah, I'm inspired by him. So if I could do something like that, have YouTube grow, be one of my main sources of income, I'd really like that, because I do believe video is the next big thing. It's already big now, and especially because everybody's inside, people need to watch video, whether it's for entertainment purposes or educational purposes or business purposes, or if they have their church services online or their spiritual services online, whatever it is, video is the next wave. So if you get in it now, it's a good thing to do. Also, they have the social distance learning or the remote learning. So video really is the way. So I think getting in on it now and really perfecting everything now, lighting, audio, everything, getting in now for when it gets big or as it continues to get big, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that's for us. We've been doing podcasting for years. Video is a little more difficult because I gotta like look presentable, and I can't. Well, I can record the video late at night, but when I did my podcast, man, I will tell you, I've done some of those podcasts in my pajamas. You know, and the bat lighting, everything. There's a lot more intentionality that's there, but then there's a lot more power because you can do search engines. You can research, and the other factor is the videos. Once it's out there, you might find a video that shows up from 4 years ago, and you're who knows what'll happen with that.
Right. Yeah,
I've seen that.
Those are some of the really big benefits of video, the search and how people's videos go on and on. For example, the channel Think Media, they do video tips and everything. And sometimes I'm looking up, even recently, I was looking up what's the best tripod to buy. And one of the videos came up from 3 years ago. I'm like, oh, and I am a little hesitant about watching an older video because I know these things develop quickly. Every 6 months or so, you kind of got to update it. But even watching their videos, like, oh, look at this, and they got 2 million views. So yeah, you can pop up and show up. So that's one thing with search, and also with people getting to know you. When you do videos, people get to know you like intimately. They see you, they hear you, they see you mess up a little bit, so they get to know you, and they really want to see you and know you. Podcasting has its benefits too, but I just know I'm kind of biased to video because I'm on video. But I don't have any problem with podcasting either.
Well, and I would say both are good, and we do both. Like we're in like some of our videos that we've done are our podcast episodes. And what I really like is, man, when it comes to running a business and as I'm communicating with people, I'm literally in their ears or on their computer. There, I'm like talking to them, and I might be doing other things, and they'll come back to me. I've clients and people are like, hey, I really like this and that, and they joke about something. I'm like, how the heck did you know that? You know, I did a podcast on a road trip, and I said something about the road trip, and he calls me and he's like, yeah, this was really this was hilarious, and said all this. I'm like, how did you know that I did that in Texas? He's like, yeah, well, you said it. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, it's crazy because you never know who's watching or when they watch. I've had people laugh. Same thing you're saying, laugh, tell a joke, or make a reference to video. I'm like, oh, you saw the video? But because they didn't comment or anything, I wouldn't know they saw the video. And it's like, yeah, we saw it. And we saw it. Okay, well, thank you for your support.
Yeah. So what is wealth? Yeah, you have wealth on your shirt. And our podcast is channel is Grandma's Wealth Wisdom. What did you learn about wealth from your family in the past? And what do you think wealth is to you now?
Well, in my family, we don't really talk about money, or rather, like, I did not really learn much about money from my family. So prior to my, learning about finances, before I probably say wealth is just, I don't know, being rich or having a lot of money. Since then, I've learned it's more than that. Wealth is about having the freedom to, do whatever you want, because that's like the whole goal of retirement, whether traditional retirement works or not, it's different. But the idea is you go for freedom. You want to be able to amass enough wealth or enough money where you can go and do whatever you want, whether that's volunteering for a year or traveling for a year, or, raising your kids, your newborn kids, so that they don't have to go through childcare or whatever. But it's about the freedom. To read the whole shirt, it says wealth is freedom and hard work pays off. And this shirt, it's not my shirt. I can't take credit for it. This is actually the merch of YouTuber Tommy Bryson, one of my favorite YouTubers. But because I like this shirt, I said, let me get it and let me wear it in my video so that I can kind of share that message. But what it really comes down to is freedom. Because the other day I did see a meme, And it was like, you don't want money. You want the freedom to quit. You want the freedom to travel and raise your kids and do all that. So that's, to me, that's really what wealth is. That, and also being able to pass it down to another generation. So when you have kids and everything, you can pass down the knowledge, and also in a very responsible way, pass down some of your money, both while you're here and after you're gone. So that way they can kind of have a leg up on competition, but they can have, a good start in life so they can go forward in their wealth journey.
Nice. Well, I think a very similar. Wealth is not necessarily always money. It is a part to play, but you go into other countries, they might have a wealth of community, and we are lacking in that, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, they have some wealth there, but yet they're eating beans and rice. I don't know. And I think that wealth is so much bigger. But if you look in the definition of wealth, it's all about money. And I'm like, that's maybe not the right approach. And then I think about, like, as we do our business, is I don't know the impact that I'm going to have. I might impact one person. And because of this video, or because of them working with us, it has changed the trajectory of their whole community, their whole family structure, maybe.
Right.
And generationally, that might be 3 generations from now that I've affected, and all because I just showed up and did what I felt I was called to, and I helped them build, get freedom.
Right.
And sometimes it's frustrating because you're like, man, they don't get it, or man, they do. Or like with life insurance, I do a lot with life insurance. I don't know how that's going to impact people, but I guarantee you, no one ever says, I wish my parents didn't have a life insurance policy, or my grandparents didn't have a life insurance policy when they got that money. No one ever says that. Right. They're always like, man, that was great, because they got the benefits of the grandparents or parents' sacrifice. And that's power to me.
It is, yeah, because that's one of the things, as we were saying about video, going back, you never know as you're teaching somebody when it will hit them or if it will hit them. You could be telling them in the moment, do this, or learn this. But, it doesn't hit somebody until it actually hits them. So it may hit them in the moment, like, oh, yeah, wow. Or it may hit them in a year or maybe 5 years. Now, to the teacher, it's like, why didn't it hit you when I said it at first? But people just need to go through their own processes in life in order to actually thoroughly understand the things they're taught. So everybody's kind of on their own journey. But yeah, you never know when it's going to hit for somebody.
Yeah. Well, and, here's a question I have for you. And I'm totally putting this in here right now. How do you avoid the head trash of all the crappy stuff out there, or your own laziness? With videos, how do you avoid that and have a growth mindset?
You mean, how do I avoid like negativity, things like that? I think that's what you mean.
Negativity, wrong thinking, or, there's so much, any of it. Like, most of the reason that we are not making it is, it's not what our potential is. It's between our 2 ears.
Right. So yeah, I agree with you. In order to kind of get past this, I do kind of just play the long game and like see it for the future, because it isn't about how I think of it now. Because I know sometimes when I'm making a video, it's like, oh, I'm staying up all night. This is hard. It's annoying, and nobody's going to watch it. But it's like, don't worry about now. Just worry about seeing this in 6 months, in a year, 2 years. It's the long game thing that keeps me going. And also it's about, as the shirt says, just achieving that wealth. Because maybe I don't have it now, and maybe it's, a little hard to produce the video now. But one day I know that the videos I put out will actually be making me money through YouTube and other ways. And then I'll be closer to those steps. So I really have to just push past that. Also, in terms of the naysayers, I really just have to understand that, some of them just don't really get what I'm doing, and that's kind of fine. There are people I know, and I heard them say some stuff like, oh, Caleb, you're doing videos, and, you think you're a guru, or whatever they said. And it's like, they just don't get it. Maybe they don't watch YouTube. Maybe they don't understand that
Mhm.
this is kind of how YouTube works. You just kind of learn from other people and you just share the knowledge, really. I admit
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, not a guru. Do not buy my $1,000 course. I don't have $1,000 course. So, it's just about passing on knowledge to people. So again, yeah, I play the long game and I just kind of block out the people that say whatever because they don't get it. Just like the teaching thing we were saying. They don't get it now, but then when they see it in a few years, oh, Caleb's actually making money from shooting videos on his laptop, his phone, and then he posts it, then they get it. But they just got to see it.
Yeah. Well, and I do think if anybody ever says they're the guru, they're not. Maybe a specialist is a different thing because everything's always changing. And one thing I would say is the thing I wish I would have built on, and this is my advice: get an email list and get people when you they come onto your channel or in general, figure out a way to get their emails so then you can be in contact with them regularly. That's where the true wealth comes. And man, as you learn, be okay with creating a $1,000 course.
Well, definitely.
And yeah, because I mean, we're doing that on what we're doing with our financially independent. We're starting financially independent female entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of things we learned about starting a business and keeping the money and stability and security and the 80-20 rule. And we're like, well, let's put it into a course and help provide even more value. And I made too many mistakes to just let it be with me.
Right. Yeah, I'm all for creating a course. That was more like a joke because I know some of these people, maybe people haven't seen the some of these commercials on YouTube are ridiculous. They're like, I'm going to give you my $10,000 course for just $50 today. Just click the link because when it gets to that point, it's like, really, you're what can you teach me for $10,000 on your thing? I'm all for courses and fairly priced courses. As I was reading one of these books recently, I forget which book it is now. I'll think about it. But he kind of gave a gist of how much a course should be, somewhere between like $100, maybe $500, maybe he maxed it out at $1,000. But after that, it's too much. They were giving the example of how somebody was paying $50,000 for a course, and all they were really doing is taking advantage of people. They were like, okay, you buy our course, and then and they just keep sucking people and sucking. $50,000. Are you buying a course or are you buying a car? Like, I mean, it's a shame they take advantage of people like that.
Well, and I think, again, one thing that is going to be cool to see in you is as you develop and grow and use this platform that you create to build the Caleb Oliver, who knows what it'll be. And the knowledge that you're going to be able to share with people as you're learning and putting it in. For me, I've learned from Stu McLaren to the Think Media people to all kinds of people. Profit First behind me, and some of them I'm like, man, if I can compile this all into one thing that'll help somebody, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's kind of what we're doing and saying, there's a little bit of here and here. How do we put this together? So as you start a business, you're not going to be floundering in knowing your numbers.
I 100% agree with you. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying, or we were talking about this before we click record. So now we can talk about it. How do you think for yourself? So yeah, as you compile all these sources, you read some books, and you've taken some courses, and you also seen some videos on YouTube. You kind of compile this together and you make it work for yourself. Don't just follow, like you said, don't just follow, oh, my parents said da da da, or oh, my teacher said da da da. Well, they may be kind of right, or they may be dead wrong. Instead, get in some of this knowledge and like put it together and how it best works together for you. And this was one of the topics I was going to talk about. Soon I'm going to release a book review on the Millionaire Fastlane. Between that book, it was between reading that book and I also read Crush It by Gary Vee. And the whole idea of you need to create like your own brand, but by doing your own thing. You can't just copy and paste what somebody else did. It
Nope.
don't need to be, for example, me trying to be like Graham. Oh my goodness, I need to just do it exactly like him, copy and paste everything. It can't. You can learn the general things he did and like take that and apply it to yourself. But copy and paste doesn't work. So you need to find things that work for you from different sources, apply it to you so it comes together well for you, and then make it work, work out the best way it can for you.
Yeah, and again, I think too, it's we're those, like one of those guys said, the random guy on YouTube. Like you want to like, hey, learn from them and say, well, hey, within certain things, I am an expert, right? And I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to some of the running the math on things, and knowing where there's different experts and different people that have really good knowledge on certain things. But then, in YouTube, we want to create content, and we end up sometimes becoming, they want us to be experts in everything. And there's only a few things that you're a specialist in. And some of it, you're just creating a video to say, this is what I think about it. But maybe it's not right. Maybe it is. I just did some Google searching myself to find that what I just told you. And
people miss it. The point or big point of this is I just want to spark some ideas in your mind. Some things I give you are facts because, I Googled it and it's a fact. But this was really designed so you can go out, get some more research about it so that you can figure out, what to do next. But I know people just naturally, even myself, it's very easy to say, oh, I heard so-and-so say it, so it must be true. And then you run with it. But before you just run with something that you haven't even verified, verify it. Go to the same site. That's why I always try and leave links in my descriptions. I try and leave a lot. Look at what I just researched. Make sure what I said was right. Cross-check it. Read a few more articles before you decide, yes, this is right for me. Or no, this is wrong. But the idea is people must do research for themselves.
Yeah. Trust, but verify is what I've heard. And when it comes to finances, what I tell people is, have you ever done the math on that? In all areas, and not just math that'll like prove your point, but do opposite math to see if you can break down your conclusion to see it from the other end. Because I try and do that too. I'm saying, no, is that going to work? Let's throw some wrenches in.
That's a good idea for sure. Because you got to plan. You got to plan the whole thing. Definitely.
And be able to say, I was wrong. And I think a lot of things is we don't want to be wrong, but and that doesn't make us feel good. But maybe that's okay, and grow if you're wrong or if you fail.
Because as I'm reading some of these books, they talk about fail fast. So you can learn that, okay, what I was doing was wrong. So now I learn from it, pivot and go. It's better to do that now than kind of like what you were saying before. Go down this bad financial path 20, 25 years and realize, I actually should have did something else. Learn from the failure now and then just, move forward.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is totally true. Failing fast is, fail a lot. The more that you fail, the more chances you are that you're going to succeed. And if you don't go out there, that's Babe Ruth, right? Babe Ruth had a ton of strikeouts. And yet he's like really well known in baseball. But his failure rate is pretty high. As far as not being, but his success rate is pretty high too, because I think he swung at everything, if I remember. I am no baseball.
Me either.
So I don't know. So if you don't write any comments that say I'm wrong or whatever.
But I definitely understand what you're saying, because even as I read and recently reviewed Crush It by Gary Vee, he was saying, there's a quote, he says, like, it's better to try something 10 times, fail 7, and get it right 3 times than it is just to only do it 3 times and, be successful those 3 times. Because in those failures, You are learning to set yourself up for future success, and you have to like produce in order to keep moving forward instead of getting stuck in analysis paralysis and say, oh, I only want to do the safe thing. I only want to do the thing that I'm sure I'm going to win at. Just go and try it and learn and keep going.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, I want to leave with, what would you want to tell our audience? How can they find you? And yeah, what would be something you would be like, dude, this is my mic drop right now?
Overall, I guess just the overall theme of my channel. Like, I want people to learn about finance, specifically people like my age and or a little bit younger, people who just like left college or like you're about to go into college. Just like look into finances and start learning about it now. Because if we wait too long later in life, it's not gonna, I mean, it can still work, but we make it significantly more difficult then. So let's start learning about it now so that we can have a good and, stable financial future. And as we have this page pulled up here, yes, this is my YouTube channel. It's just my name there, Caleb Oliver. You can find me there. You can also find me on Instagram. My name there is Smooth Caleb, but that's pretty much the two main places I'm at as well. And also, if you want to follow me on Facebook, my name is Caleb Oliver there as well. It's much appreciated.
Awesome. Cool. I'll put that in the chat there. And I noticed you put some stuff on the Trump orders, and I feel like a lot of people's YouTube is growing because they've done that stimulus money stuff.
Yeah, and
there's so much news out there.
Yeah, that was something that another YouTuber taught me about. His name is Justin Baker Life, and I've been following. When I first started following him in about late March or early April, he had about 1,000 subscribers or so. Now he's like at 39,000 in just a short few months. So he sent me an email. He's like, hey, Caleb, you should try some stimulus stuff. So I kind of tried a little bit, but my issue is like, I want to put it out in order to grow, but it's hard for me to, watch news on a daily basis and then put a whole video together on it. And then also being timely. News is very timely. You got to get it out now. I can't say, oh, I'll wait and I'll do it today and then I'll post it Monday, because by Monday it's too late. So just that whole thing on top of it, I found that difficult. But I'll probably put it a few more, because I've seen some channels hit. And even as I looked at some other channels, there were people who like pretty much started when we did late March, early April. And all they did was stimulus videos. I don't know if they had videos before that, but I literally saw one channel pretty much go from zero. I didn't watch them do the whole process, but just looking at the channel, when they started in March to now, so from zero to like over 100,000. I said over 100,000, but I mean, it goes to show if you just put out content that YouTube wants to push and then people are watching, it's going to grow.
Yeah. Well, and I think some is like, for me, you want to balance that within stuff that you want to do. But at the same time, what are people searching? And balancing those two things is so difficult. And I do not want to do anything on the stimulus stuff or politics.
I totally get it, because it is hard and you don't want to be too polarizing. And also another reason why I didn't necessarily want to do it, like I see it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, so take advantage. But also at the same time, it's like I don't like news a lot, so I wouldn't really want my channel to become a news channel. And then once you start doing something that you don't like, then your passion, you start to lose passion for it, and you don't want to do that with something that you're passionate. You don't just want it to turn into a job. You want to actually like it. So balance, I 100% agree with you. Balance is necessary there.
Awesome. Well, totally. You guys subscribe to the channel, and thank you for joining this video. And we'll have more interviews. If you, of course, like Caleb's content, go check him out. He's got some amazing stuff. We've met through YouTube. With all that, I'm gonna end. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit that bell or whatever, all that crazy stuff. And thanks again for joining us, Caleb. I can't wait to see what is it going to be like in 20 years for you. I think about, I started our business in 2011 with the coffee shop. Never would have thought I'd be where I'm at now 10 years later. Just thinking 10 years from now, where's Caleb going to be? And I can't wait to do a follow-up video. So
yeah, thank you. Sounds good. Bright
cool.
future ahead.
Awesome. Keep being awesome, guys.
All right.